Let's do something a little bit different today. Hi, I'm Lauren, and today I'm going to take you a little bit more behind the scenes of my business, my life, what I'm thinking, what's helping me, especially as the world dramatically changes. AI, technology, I'm obsessing over all of this stuff right now, and I'm also trying to win back my focus and discipline and stop, all of the amazing technology that I'm definitely leveraging and teaching my clients to leverage, stopping it hijacking my brain as well, so that I still have a lot of creative license and creative thought in what I'm creating using these tools. Because if you have been struggling with motivation or losing hours to the Instagram scroll, or maybe just feeling like clarity is something that you'll eventually stumble into in your business, then I want you to really lean into this training or this episode today. So after 5 days last week of writing for the first time ever on Substack, a new platform, it's not new, but new for me, and starting from scratch, basically, with an audience of, 0 on a platform, which is new for me. I haven't, started from scratch on a new platform for such a long time, with a feeling of real commitment to it. And it's been the most productive, last week of a very long time for me in my life and my business. And look, I've got 2 small children, one of whom is 7 months old. And so there's a lot of that going on as well for me right now in terms of change and just time being spent in different ways. But it's also challenging me with one thing in particular, and that is thinking differently, innovating, creative thought, critical thinking in an age where there are lots of platforms offering to do that for us. And I'm going to leverage those things as much as I can, but I want to make sure that my input is still critically thought through and is still developing from the perspective of kind of original thought, creative thinking. So not thinking harder and not journaling for hours, just thinking about focus, right? And letting that drive my actions. And here are some of the things that changed. So last week I recorded an entire new short course, 11 modules in total. I published 2 podcast episodes. I wrote emails to my list every day. I promoted them. I created social media content. So I've been posting on Instagram consistently. I started moving my body again and working out really simply at home with just equipment that I have at home. I cleared my inbox. I mapped out a better calendar for myself using AI. I delivered amazing sessions for my clients, and I wrote Substack 5 days in a row. And my plan is to continue to do that this week. I don't know right now if I'll write on weekends. Those days are pretty sacred family time at the moment. But what I want to share with you is that I've never felt clearer. I've never felt more in flow or more certain about the direction that I'm moving in. In fact, I'll rephrase that. I have felt like this before, but not in a long time. And I've started to reclaim some of that clarity that I really felt was missing, and particularly the kind of focus and clarity of mind that I feel like I've really been missing. And maybe some of you are feeling this as well. And it's the result of really, becoming obsessed with this question that I have. And that is, what would it look like to be radically focused and deeply disciplined right now in a world where I'm constantly feeling drawn into distraction? And because our thoughts create our actions, that question alone started to change the trajectory of my days. So starting by doing that thinking and writing about it for Substack, which I'll link in the comments or in the show notes below, has really helped me to just manifest more of what I'm writing about. So that idea that thoughts create actions is wholeheartedly true, and I've sort of proven it to myself this week. So let's talk about writing and why it's so helpful for you as a health practitioner, for you as a wellness expert. There was one quote that I actually read after I started this process. There was an inherent calling for me around the power of writing, and I've read, The Artist's Way, which is an amazing book. I think her name is, some of you will know this as you're watching it and you can tell me in the comments, but it's Julia Cameron, I believe, is the author of The Artist's Way. And she developed the thinking around morning pages. So you get up in the morning and you just brain dump all of your thoughts onto an A4 page. And I know that that helps to get clarity. So I started the process. And then on Substack, I actually read this quote by a very intelligent, a very bright thinker, a guy called Tim Denning. And he said in this particular quote, writing helps you think. And in a world of AI, if you stop doing the deep thinking, your value and your helpfulness will plummet. And he suggested in this quote that everyone should have a writing practice. And I agree. And I think if you don't have a writing practice right now and you're trying to shortcut everything with AI, you're losing the power of what that shortcutting actually can do for you, because you can shortcut to generic, duplicated copy paste content like everyone else on the internet, which AI will draw from. Or you can put original thought and engineer really clever and innovative and fresh prompts to AI and get it to speed up the creation of content from that place. Now, I've always created content, right? But writing in a blank document away from Instagram without distraction or notifications, that feels different. It feels quieter, right? And in that quietness, I've had original thoughts again. I feel like I haven't been leaning so much into what is everyone else doing in my industry sector, or kind of feeling like I'm scavenging for strategies or ideas that I can use in my world, and ideas that aren't regurgitated from a reel that I just watched, or thoughts that feel like mine but actually aren't mine. And I'm telling you all of this because if you're a wellness expert right now and you're trying to stand out in a saturated market, then deep thinking is going to be your secret weapon. Because guess what? Generic experts get ignored. And I've said this for a long time, but I'm ramping up the emphasis on it. Hyper-specific niching in the wellness industry is now essential. Those with a clear philosophy, maybe with a spiky point of view, an interesting perspective on wellness or transformation, those who are visibly thinking for themselves and maybe using AI to power the creation of content around that, they are magnetic, okay? And that's all to do with your input into AI tools. And that input needs to come from a place of original, insightful, creative thinking. There's a trend going around right now, which is like, what's your butterfly effect moment? What's that moment, 10 years ago or 12 years ago that kind of wholly airballed you into where you are now? And frankly, I dislike that trend for a whole other reason, which is, lots of you haven't reached that airball moment. And so it can really feel like progress needs to be instant, and it's not, and it glorifies rapid success. And that one tiny decision, that's the butterfly effect. I do like the thinking around that. And this feels like one of those moments, right? Where deciding to write each day just for me and for my ideal client is transforming how I show up everywhere else, because writing has helped me clarify what I believe, let go of comparison, see where my own focus has drifted, and also reconnect with why this work matters to me in my life, to my family, to my personal goals, to my vision. And I want to extend that invitation to you. If you've been feeling a little bit disconnected from your voice, what do I stand for in this area of expertise? If your content feels like it's kind of falling a bit flat, or it's become a chore, or if you're doing all the right things but you're not seeing results in your business, then maybe writing is the answer. It's a creative outlet, not for virality. I have no expectation at all that my Substack is going to reach any more than a handful of people right now. And it's actually not for that reason that I'm doing it. But I am doing it for the practice of discipline and clarity, and that's working. So here's what I see all the time with health and wellness practitioners. They're changing niche every few weeks or every few months. They're offering a whole menu of services depending on who's asking for what. They are writing vague content like, I'll help you feel your best, or I'll give you your energy back. And the result is you feel stuck, right? You feel confused, and you probably feel pretty invisible. And the industry is noisy. It's increasingly saturated. So here's the truth. Clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from action. So when you choose a niche, when you get specific about the one problem, the one person, the one promise, you actually build clarity. Even if you get it wrong, even if you change your mind later on, just the commitment to deciding That's how you find your voice. That's how you become known. That's how you stand out when everyone else sounds the same. So this episode is not about productivity hacks, okay? There are enough of those on Instagram and social media and blah, blah, blah. It's about choosing to focus and letting that choice actually have a ripple effect through every single part of your business. And, if you open that blank document and you start writing, and in fact, that is the best place to start. If you're not sure where to start with all this, I want you to try it. Open a blank document, write a note to your ideal client. Tell them what you're seeing right now. Tell them what you believe and what you don't believe. Tell them what's possible for them. And don't write it to be a poet or to be a 5-star, New York Times bestselling author in the process. Write it to think. Write it to think and gain clarity on what it is that you want to be known for and what you want to differentiate yourself by expressing. Because thinking deeply is one of the most profitable things that you can do right now. I hope this has been helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this, or like, subscribe, all those things, whatever you need to do on this platform. I so appreciate you being here. See you soon.